Today we are finding the slope between points represented in a table. This can be a little different because it might be a little harder to identify where your points are. I'm going to do this in two different ways. One is to just simply use change in y over change in x and to leave the points in the table form. So I'm going to write down that way. So this is the purple way, change in y over change in x. The other way is to use the slope formula and to plug points in. That slope formula you should know, but it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And you should look and notice that these are actually pretty much exactly the same. The triangle y, the change in y, is the same as the difference between the y values, which is the top of the slope formula. The change in x is the same as the difference between the x values, which is the bottom of the slope formula. So these are both essentially two ways of saying the same thing, but I'm going to go ahead and do this problem twice, thinking it through both ways because they do feel a little different. The advantage of the first one I show you is that it is a little easier to perform, but it is a little easier also to make errors. Okay, this says to determine the slope of the line passing through the points in the table by checking the slope between at least two pairs of points. So we're going to end up finding the slope twice for each method. All right, we're going to go ahead and do the change in y over change in x. I've showed this in the rate of change video because rate of change and slope are the same thing. So let's go ahead and pick 2 points. Each point is represented by a pair of values in the table. That's a point, -1 to -20, just so you know. For this first method, I'm going to leave my values in the table though because it's easier for me. So I'm going to find the change in y values on the right. -20 goes up to get to -4 and it goes up 16. You can find that by subtracting -4 minus 20, -4 minus -20. And remember that you could also swap those values. Like it doesn't matter if you put -20. Oh, does it matter? -20 minus -4, you'll get -16. As long as you know that it's going up because it's getting less negative, then putting it in reverse order will tell you what this number should be. All right. Then on the right, we're going to find the change in x. -1 goes up 1 to get to 0. So then I'm going to put these in my fraction. The change in y was 16 over the change in x was 1, and so it equals 16. 16 divided by 1 equals 16. Now, hopefully you can see just from this little example that this could be really, really easy if I have easy numbers, but I didn't have easy numbers here because I have a lot of negatives. So it might be better if you're having a hard time with negatives to go and choose different points that are not negatives, which you can do. It just said to choose 2 different points. Let's go ahead and do one other point this way, the change in y over change in x way. I'm going to do 2 and 3 because they're a little easier. We're going to find 28 to 44. It goes up, and it goes up 16 again. You can subtract 44 minus 28 to figure that out. 44 minus 28, I get 16. Okay, and then on the other side, 2 to 3 clearly goes up 1. Hopefully you notice that this way of doing it kind of feels a little nicer in your brain. So hopefully that makes a little more sense. We're going to go ahead and put our change in y over change in x, and what do you know? We got the same answer. If this table really is the points on a line, the slope will always be the same. You found that when you found the slope of triangles from lines, you got the same slope each time. So when we did it from 2 different pairs of points, we got the same answer, and that's what we're supposed to get. If on this assignment you get different answers, you might have subtracted incorrectly. Let's go ahead and do the slope formula. For this way, it helps to label. Now remember that each one of these rows is a different point. You could just put parentheses and a comma there and it would be a point. So we're going to label each value as if it's in there. We have our x and our y, and we just need to choose a first one and a second one. I'm going to choose the same points just because we're already there. So this is an x and this is a y, this is an x and this is a y. We're going to let this first one go here and this second one go here. It's very, very, very important that your 2's are on the same row and your 1's are on the same row, that they read across. It's also very important that I have some students who are making both of these be x's, which is, it clearly says it's a y, so I don't know why they do that. All right, now we're going to plug these numbers into our formula. So I'm going to put my y2, which was -4. Then I need minus my y1, which was -20. Notice that there are two negative looking signs because there's a minus in the formula and the number is -20. A lot of people mess up on that part. Then I'm going to put my x1 and x2. So x2 was 0 and then minus -1. Now, since there's so many negatives here, I'm going to plug these into my calculator. -4 minus -20 equals 16. And 0 minus -1 equals 1. Okay, so that is the same. It's 16 over 1, just like we got on the other side, and it's 16, which is good because we should get the same slope every time. All right, we're going to go ahead and do one more example, and we're going to do, well, it's the same example. We're going to make these 2 points be our 2 points. Now, I want you to try and label them with your x's and y's before I put them down. All right, did you get them? Okay, let's see. So I get x, y, x, y. Here are my 1's. Here are my 2's. Did you get it right? That's often the hardest part of using the formula. Okay, y2 was 44 minus y1 is 28. And then x2 was 3 minus 2. And I get 16 over 1, which equals 16. If you notice, when we did our y2 minus y1, it was these values. And that's what we did when we did this little arrow thing. So we're really doing the same thing in our heads. It's just we might be thinking about it a little differently. So you can choose either of those methods. Make sure to follow the directions and good luck.